Hey, Stephen.
Hi, Frank. How are you?
Very good. Very good. I'm trying to think how to change my. Uh,
Yeah.
anyway.
So I was walking out front, of our house along the exposed lake bottom the other day, and I found an iPhone.
No.
Yeah, and it wasn't close to the water's edge. It was actually quite close to, our property. Um, and So I brought it inside and took the cover off, and it was a little damp, not saturated, but the charging port had, bits of tiny little stones or sand pieces in there. So I cleaned it out and I plugged it into my charger. It's an older phone. It's not the new one with the C charger. It's the previous.
Oh yeah, the
Uh,
one I have. Yeah.
yeah, and I still have that charger for my iPad. So I plugged it in, and the Apple insignia came up. So I think it's okay. And I posted that I had found a phone on Neighbor Next Door for. Uh, I did it just for Wyola West because there were more people in Wyola West. I didn't do it for the whole community. Anyway, I didn't hear from anybody, so I took it up to the police department.
Ah, that's a fun thing to find, though.
Yeah, I was like, I looked at it and I'm like, wait a minute, my phone's in my pocket.
You were worried about it too. Oh, knock on wood, I haven't lost a phone in a while. I used to lose phones all the time when I had my old flip phones, and you'd plug them into the cigarette lighter, and I'd
Well,
forget. I'd leave them in the house, hey, Phil, and I'd
yeah.
leave them in the house and in the car, and they break in to get them. Back when
Oh,
flip phones were a vogue
yeah.
thing to steal. So, uh,
Well, a couple of years ago, we were traveling from Toronto to Hudson, New York on the train. And, all of a sudden, well, people are showing up. Talk to you about this another time.
oh, okay. Hello, all.
Hello.
We have a
You see,
quorum.
Anna said she's going to be 15 minutes late.
Yeah. So we're going to start this meeting at 5:31. We have Stephen Dalmas, Phil Parker, Jeff Quackenbush, and Frank McGinn. Uh, did everyone have a chance to review those minutes? And I did change Titan Bomb, um,
Tie and bond.
Titan Bomb, whatever, Titan Bomb. Yeah, Titan Bomb. It's very interesting, specifically with your name, Stephen. It'll do the first one correct, and then all the ones after that, it does VEN and one L. I don't know why. It just is the weirdest thing. AI. That's AI for you. Um, yeah, and the Titan bomb and all that. Tie and bomb, not tight. Tie and bomb. TAGH and bomb. So that's just
BON.
me.
Yeah. Oh, it's tie and bond.
Tie and bond. Yes. Sounds a little S and M, but that's okay. The bond is a last name. Do you know?
I think both of them are last names.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. So, did anyone have any questions on the meeting minutes?
No. No, my only thought was, how towards the end it talks about sort of like what we are each gonna
Right.
do between that meeting and the next. It'd
Hmm.
be great if they could be sent out earlier. So,
Earlier.
yeah, because it's like, I saw that and I said, oh, okay, well,
Yeah.
I did do those things. But
Okay. Hold on a second. So what I normally do so I don't lose these is I quickly copy them and I copy two different. versions. That's why sometimes you see two different versions because it's some look better than others. And maybe what I'll do is just copy and paste that last thing and make sure it's grammatically correct.
That would be great.
Yeah, I'll go ahead and do that. Send out next steps. Fantastic. Okay. Okay. Do I have a motion to accept the minutes of January 14th, February 4th, and March 18th?
I make a motion to accept all of those meeting minutes.
I'll second that.
And roll call vote, please.
Dalmas, aye.
Quackenbush, aye.
Parker, I.
McGinn, aye. Thank you very much. Okay. Shutesbury School updates, which has been so much fun to work with. I might have, Jeff, you might have known some of this, but I'm going to probably repeat myself. Sorry if I'm repeating myself. I met with the insurance company people and the insurance, Gregory, the the license, whatever, sign LSP, whatever. He came up with a whole list of things to do, and passed that on to Haley. Talked to me at the time, and on to Haley and I. He thinks there's still a little leak there. To fix that, and then also he would like to see the tank sealed because it's a two-piece vault and there's no sealant, or there might be a sealant in between the concrete, but there's no sealant on the outside of the concrete, and he thinks that will help for anything future. That's the vault thing. They found some more.
The vault of the tank or the vault of the pump?
Vault of the pump. That's they call the pump vault. Okay, it's a two-piece thing. I guess the history of it, if you look inside, or some of the pictures I might have shown you, is at one point they were getting water in there, and I talked to an old principal and the old head custodian, and I don't know which year it was, but Jamrod came and did a $30,000 fix years ago on that thing, and actually they added another 4 feet and made it a big dome so the water wasn't around that thing. So I think it was probably flush at one point. So if you look into the vault opening, you'll see there's a square with galvanized steel on it, about 2 feet, and then some other stuff. You can see where the old opening was, and then the seal, the extension there on after. For all it's worth, I think that's where all the leaks coming from. Now that I'm talking out loud, because they didn't do it. They just put a vault on top of it and then did some really weird things. I'm trying to figure out where the water's coming from into the vault. But anyway, so when you put the vault together, Gregory was inside the vault and he noticed that there were water stains right up to the seam, but never above. So either that's where the water was going out or that's where the water was coming in. So he suggests sealing that.
It's sealing up to the outside.
Yeah, he's sealing the inside of the vault where the two seams meet, and it's like got a groove concrete on it like that, where the two seams meet. And he just wants us to, put a urethane caulking. He says something like that, so it seals it completely. So that's what he recommended. The other thing they had a problem with is residual oil downstream, and I took a long walk with him, and we had a lot of rain, so whatever leaves caught it. If you disturb the leaves, you can still smell the fuel. And other than that, that's the basics of it. There's some soil that's still contaminated. So the school, if anyone saw any of the pictures, the school is a little frustrated because there's all these 55-gallon drums hanging around, and they'd like them removed. The bottom line is some things have to be tested. I guess it's like evidence. So can't move it till everything's finalized. We have up to 60 days to submit a report to the DEP and see see what they say backwards, and then Western Environmental can come. They're going to remove more soil because they did find they dug up. It was interesting. They dug up and you could see the oil that they missed. It was just up against the curbing and stuff like that. So they gave us some stuff to clean. The insurance company gave us some stuff to clean up, um, but they don't know how they're handling those drums and how much more they have to take out. So it might be another 6 drums, and then they have to have DEP sign off. So that's where we are, kind of with that.
Question.
Yes.
So you talked about sealing the joint on the inside, but you started by talking about sealing the tank or the vault on the outside?
Well, no, I meant to say something different about that. I'm thinking out loud. I got to figure out. We don't know where the water's coming in, and that could be one area. But I haven't been into the vault, and I didn't want to go in when the fuel was in there because it was horrendous, and I have a hard time with smells. And but I want to go look at the vault again and take more pictures because it might be where they did the addition on top of, or it might be coming in from the seal. So Lenny and I talked at one of the meetings, and Lenny thinks it's the seal on the top cover. It's a plastic cover, and it's got a very thin plastic seal all around it, not a rubberized seal. And you can see drip marks. And I don't know if I can bring it up. Let me see if I can bring this up real quick.
That could be condensation.
It could be condensation, but yeah, it's not going to show it. Okay. Yeah. Hold on a second. Okay. So bring this over here, make it bigger, and go back here and share. Okay. Can everyone see that? Yes.
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 Yeah.
Okay. So what I'm talking about is that square right here and the old cover. So this is concrete on the outside, and it's this galvanized steel is sitting on, or something sitting on top of the old system. And you see the gap to the right here? There's water in that. That was filled with water. You also see how it's not it's over the edge too, but this was filled with water. And you can see the very thin plastic seal on that. The other thing we noticed when Andy's a retired custodian there. He's been around for many years, over 18 years. And him and Matt think that at one point in the past future, oh, sorry, Anna, one time in the past future, they used an electric drill or whatever to seal those bolts and stripped them all out. So the bolts never really tightened down. So maybe that's the source of the water. We don't know. So that's what I mean when I say I want to check this area. Hi, Anna.
Hi.
We're talking about the school. So
Mhm. Yep.
Lenny was talking about putting down a rubber membrane. Where's
right,
it?
he wants to take a rubber membrane. I don't have a picture of this. I don't think I have a picture of the you see this area over here where the cover is? He wants to take a rubber membrane over that entire area so that it drips down, goes down over this wood so that no water can jump up. And I suggested leaving the end where the snow is open and not, seal it. So in case water does get underneath there, it doesn't back up into it so it can drain out. So I haven't checked with him when he was going to try to look for something there, but he thought a rubber roof membrane with like pressure treated 2x4s to, nail to it and in keeping it there. So that's what Lenny was thinking on that. So that's where we are with that. Then I just get, where am I? Okay. Okay. Stop share there. Then yes, 2 days ago, Haley and I talked with Matt from Ty and Bond, who's in the office taking care of all this, and he reiterated what the what we just talked about, what the insurance company said, what they need to do going forward, fix the leak and do that. I told him there's, from my point, and I really appreciate your all's input, is um, for one, Royal Steam couldn't find the replacement parts for that motor. And just to catch everyone up, there's two motors in this vault. One new and one old, and they don't think the old one's worked in a long time, which is interesting because it's the backup. And we have replaced the new motor three times.
Is a motor a pump, or is a
Yes.
motor separate from a pump?
The motor is, there's two things in there. I think this is I don't know the answer to that. I think it's one of those, but I think it's the motor that does the pump. Does
So
that
it's
make
the
sense?
pump motor.
It's the pump. Thank you.
Pump motor. Mhm.
But anyway, so you're looking in the vault, and I can bring that picture up again. You've all seen it. That's the old motor, and the newer motor looks brand new to the right, but it's out of view. What's interesting for me, and I always will bring this up, is that they've replaced that new motor 3 times in the last 2 years because of flooding, but they haven't done anything with the old motor, and that's where the leak on the seals happened. So they want that replaced, but Royal Steam could not find. It's so old they can't get parts for it, and they're going to look into replacing it. So my concern is what I brought up with Matt is the other thing the insurance company wants us to do is update the alarm system. Now, originally, when DEP was there, it says well monitor. We have 4 well monitors at the tank, and it says well monitor on it. And what I found out from Gregory is it's not a well monitor. It's a part of the alarm system. It's a sealed system that has sensors that will detect oil. So they can't use that to test the water, to test the groundwater around that. So the insurance company wants us to replace the motor and fix the seal, and they'd like us to replace the alarm system, which makes sense. And
The
my
alarm
concern,
system hasn't worked for a very long time, right?
over 8 years.
Yeah.
And I don't know what parts haven't worked over 8 years. There's nothing down. It's hard to get answers. When I talked to one of the engineers at Ty and Bomb that gave me that big ugly quote for $400,000, I said, "What would just the alarm cost?" And he says, "A brand new alarm to bring it up to code," and that's the word he used. And I'm sure we'd have to go out to bid to get this thing. Is about $25,000. So what I asked Matt at Ty and Bomb with Haley the other day, my concern is we can go ahead and spend $6,000 on a new motor, $25,000 on a new alarm sensor system, but I'd like to have the water tested first. I mean, the groundwater.
Question, what's the alarm system going to tell us?
Pressure loss, oil outside the tank. Pressure loss, oil.
How does it test pressure or oil loss outside the tank?
It has a sensor in a well that constantly monitors the water, I guess.
Okay.
This
Just
is what I
because
would, yeah,
presumably,
yeah,
fuel goes down as they're using it, so like that's gonna change. So like, how do they know if it's being lost by use or by leak?
right. So there's
Yeah.
pressure, there's a few things, and I got one other thing I'll tell you about in a minute. So yeah, I don't know the logistics. I was just told
Yeah.
that was a sensor that would alarm if there wasn't a leak. So oil must have a signature on these sensors. I'm not an engineer or scientist to even know what
Yeah.
that is,
Right.
and I know Jeff knows all about those things. But so
Yeah. Right.
so after talking, and they said this is the going forward. This is what we should do. I brought up. I said, well, I'm more comfortable with, and I think like some feedback from you all is I'm more comfortable for us spending 30 something thousand dollars plus to make sure the groundwater hasn't been contaminated.
Well, isn't Mass DEP going to make us do that anyways?
Well, that's the thing. Right now, we have 60 days to do these proposals, and Matt said at Ty and Bomb that uh, they have to do all the reports within 60 days, which is May 11th. And then they might come back and say, okay, now we want the groundwater tested. So I thought I'd be proactive and say, no, I'd like to have the groundwater tested because I don't want to go through, I don't think the town should go through and spend that type of money fixing something that might not stay. Does that make sense?
No.
Yep.
So if we find oil in the ground, the tank's got to go. So we won't need a new alarm system and we won't need a new pump.
Makes sense.
Oh, I see what you're saying now. Okay.
Yeah, yeah. So that was my thing, and so I asked Matt. I said, "Why don't you go ahead?" And they can't do it by the 11th, but they can notify DEP that we are going forward to test. And he thinks 4 things around the outside would be enough to find. If they find something, how it works is they do 4 drill holes, test, send it to the lab, do all that stuff. And if they find anything, they go outside the perimeter and test again and test again and test again to see how much is. So since I don't know if everyone saw the news in the paper about this. This made the Greenfield Gazette or whatever it's called.
Hampshire Gazette.
Yeah, Hampshire Gazette, and another one in Greenfield. But all the neighbors are very concerned because it's in the it said drinking water. So one of the things Haley and Matt said, they go around and do like we do the PFAS, go around and take samples of all the immediate people in the area to be a good neighbor and find and show them that their water is hopefully safe. Since this oil leak, and it was a surface oil leak, so that's where we are on what to do. So that's where we have to figure out what that is. The biggest disappointment for me was the same company did the pressure test that did it back in September, and it tested flawlessly, except for there's 2 more inches of water at the bottom of the tank.
Hmm.
So how does it pressure test okay and get 2 inches of water? Is the oil company delivering us water? Is there a leak internally? I don't know. It's a really thing. And I know in talking with, when I found that out from Gregory from the insurance, and he told me, he looked at the bucket I put up top and he goes, yes, it'd be very hard physics wise for the rain to go down and up and down.
Right.
So we said the vent is okay, with that on there. So
When the previous condition occurred where they had to clean the water out of the oil, how many inches of water were in the tank then?
about the same.
Wow.
So this is less than a year.
In September, yeah. So yeah, and
real mystery.
it's a real mystery. The weird thing is, and I've got to have, I'd like to, I don't know how to do stuff. I know Jeff and I talked about, we met with the alarm system. We'll talk about that, the fire system at town hall. But it's the coordination of things. And I know when I brought the insurance guy to see the boiler room, I noticed there was a new fuel filter. on one of the burners because they had the cat litter all underneath it or whatever that stuff is, the speedy dry stuff like that. And it wasn't there earlier when I was there. So I assumed, and Matt wasn't around when I did this, when I walked around because it was after 1 to find out exactly when that happened and when Jamrod came. But it'd be nice to know these things because that's if that fuel filter is constantly clogging. The good news is April 15th, I think they turn the heat off. So, um, so there's a lot to think about with this tank. And I told Haley about the water. I said that's another $6,000, and rather find the leak.
So whose decision is it to do the additional drilling, us or the select board? Or do we make a recommendation to the select board?
I made a recommend. It's Haley. Haley's the administrator. So I just said I'd like you to, do you feel this is necessary? And she thought it was. I don't know if it's the select board. It's part of, and also the other thing is we think it's encompassed with the insurance because it's part of the, we are $10,000 deductibles that this is going to be part of the insurance claim. So I don't think it's hopefully not going to cost us.
Interesting.
Because, yeah, and if we have to do it, we have to do it.
Well, I think we ought to do it also just to make sure the neighbors are okay.
And that's the other thing is if it comes back negative, it's a good all around thing. And then the neighbors have had their water tested, and then we have no thing, and it gives us the time to properly replace that tank, and get figure out what to do in the next year or so.
The test wells that are going to check, you said the groundwater. How deep are they? Do you know?
I don't. They go down until they hit water, and then I don't know how much they pump out, and then they take all these samples. That's the other reason why the soil hasn't been taken off, because they've been doing samples. So they test the soil, they signature the oil to a certain type, and then they do more testing. It's all above my head, but they can tell where it's coming from, the type of oil. That's why when all this happened, DEP, we had to get a hold of Sprague out of Albany, who delivered it, and they had to do a report on how much they've delivered, when the last time they were delivered, the fuel, and they have testing fuel things. And they had to get all that from them, so they were calculating and how much the usage is and the boiler and all that, and they'll calculate that. We took 130 gallons out of the vault with 2 inches of water. So we took about 39 gallons of oil out. So they do all these calculations, and if they're missing 5 or 10 gallons, it's got to be somewhere. So,
So are we recommending them do the drilling and then also put the rubber sheet over the top for
I think that's, just keep
for the
it.
inlet?
Yep. And then Haley also, after talking with the insurance person, asked us to go forward. And I sent the letter out. I could have CC'd you all. Is Mass Environmental is going to be the only one pumping out of there going forward till we figure out what's going on with that vault, and not having the poor Matt, the custodian, plug the sub pump in and do all that, because there's still some residual oil stains down there. Mass. I was there. They took the pipe and they went all around, and it was just it was shiny because what was left, but they got down to the concrete. So she felt comfortable, and the insurance company feels comfortable that a environmental person does it, and they can be responsible, and we'll go forward doing that. So making sure the vault doesn't leak anymore is one aspect, and then we just test the well and then go forward with the things. What I will do, and I'll keep you all in the loop, I'll put I forget the name of the alarm, but the guy Jeff and I talked to with other alarm system. I don't know if he knows that type of thing, but we'll try to figure out, and we'll get a couple of bids on this alarm system and what is entailing fixing it. In other words, is it just putting a new box in and making sure the wires are all hooked up, or is it digging up the parking lot and putting new wires down? So I don't know.
Hmm.
Why did it stop? Was
Maybe
it the
Ty and
wire?
Bond can, maybe Ty and Bond can give us the name of some
Yeah.
alarm companies. That would be
Well,
another
that's what
thing.
I'll call the I forget his name right now. I'll call the guy who gave us the ugly quote and
Hmm?
ask if you like that, Anna. Yeah,
I do.
yeah,
I do.
because you get ugly quotes all the time. Uh,
That's my job, dream crusher. Yeah.
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 Yeah, so I'll initiate that and see, get a couple of companies to, initiate that and come look at that, and then we'll at least satisfy the insurance company.
Many years ago, somebody emailed us after we sent them a proposal and said, everything looks great except price, please revise. And that was the entirety of the email, and we could
Ah,
send that to them. So, I've never been able to send that back to somebody, so we could try that.
uh,
Turns out their college student backed in their garage, so they were not excited about the repair
oh,
process.
oh,
poor kid.
Yeah.
so I
Okay,
have a
any more?
question.
Yes.
Um, so at this point, there's this mystery uh, leak, I'm going to say, of water getting into the tank. And that would seem to be, in my mind, the most important question to get an answer to, because that's going to continue to play havoc with the entire system. And so I would not see, you know, putting in, redoing the alarm system um, until that can be figured out. And if it can't be figured out, I mean, maybe the thing to do is to say, okay, we have to do a new tank, and then it's either a new underground tank or an above ground tank. And then I say to myself, okay, well, an above ground tank probably is not going to be as large. Um, but if we're also entertaining the idea of trying to go away from oil, and move to, say, uh, either to a heat pump system, whether it's I'm drawing a blank on the buried system, ground source,
Like
Geothermal.
yeah,
geothermal.
geothermal, or the just the regular, I'll say the regular high efficiency heat pumps that are now available. And I don't know if people saw, there was a piece that came out about in Maine where they have, I guess, explored uh, geothermal in some of these larger applications, but are actually going with just, heat pumps because they have become so energy efficient. Um, and when you consider the cost of the ground source, uh, you know, I mean, there's obviously a savings, but if you continue to use the boiler when it's really cold out, um, that actually becomes pretty efficient if you have the two together. So I'm just throwing all that out there, but I think getting back to the water in the tank, I think that's the key to deciding how to go forward, finding
Mhm.
out if where that's coming from, if possible. And if it can't be figured out, I think, we need to make other suggestions.
I agree with you, Stephen. I don't know what everyone else's thought is on that. Could you find that article and email it to the group? And we're going to get Michael D. Chiara a copy of it because
Okay, I'll see if I can find that.
So I'm not clear on something. If water gets into the pit, can it then get into the tank?
I don't think it should because it's not leaking. So I don't,
No, the pump pit.
Yeah, I know. I don't think it should, but that, I don't think it could get into the tank
Okay,
from from the physics of it.
okay.
The only other,
And
we didn't test the water that they found down there. You know, if everything pressure tests, and that's including the outside hull, that's a problem. How is the water getting into a sealed compartment?
Hmm.
right.
It was Houdini with the shackles, and so I agree. Stephen. That's the key thing. Where's the water coming from?
Yeah, this seems to be literally a money pit at this point, and it seems like we're just gonna have to keep spending and spending and spending to maintain it and fix the things we fixed over and over again. Maybe it's time to look at a clean slate.
Right.
A great idea, Phil.
Yeah.
What
And
just knowing how slow everything moves, like if we or whoever decides now, is there a reasonable time to get this done before next heating season? Which seems like it should be a yes, but we all know how slow municipalities move.
and
First,
talking at
first
the
we got to come
emergent.
up with what is it that we want to do? I mean, are we talking above ground tank? When we,
Yeah, that's the the crystal ball. Is which direction to go in. Maybe if we want to go for the energy non carbon fuel based things in the future, do you do something temporary like take an 18-wheel truck and plug it into the side of the school for a year? Um,
well,
or,
that
or
if you go that way, I mean, it does sound like the above ground tank is the solution then, but it wouldn't be as big a tank.
and then you pay a little more because of the and I've
Delivery.
never delivery.
Yeah.
I know a friend of mine has a diesel truck and it went up $1.50 in a month, a gallon.
Mhm.
And I was in New York City the other day after Passover. I went to a friend's house for Passover, and I filled my car up for $4.75 in Flushing.
Mm.
Well, did you hear the price of gas in New Zealand?
No.
$13.50 a gallon.
Yo.
Wow.
Yeah, my daughter's complaining and
Oh, that's
complaining,
right.
complaining.
Get
Yep.
an electric car. Get an electric car. They in the NPR on the way. I taught at Maha High School today, a ceramics course, and on the way in they said Tesla. All the showrooms went empty this month because everyone didn't want to spend whatever $13 a gallon or $4 a gallon or everything else. And it was the biggest incentive they've ever had for electric. So that was interesting,
Isn't
considering
that interesting?
because the other guy wants us away from electric. He's canceling everything, all the stuff. But um,
I
that
bet
was
that's pissing off Trump.
yeah.
Yeah. Oh well, fire alarm.
Fire alarm. Okay, well, actually, what I want to do is skip the fire alarm for 1 second, and I put capital planning requests because I mentioned it at the last meeting, and because I didn't know what crystal ball is, we didn't put any extra money in for any of the engineering of this till we solidify what we're doing with this. So I didn't want to get anything from capital planning that we couldn't use or that we weren't going to use or something like that. And I did that in conjunction with the school department. Nate Longcope was at the meeting, and he, till we know what we're doing, money's tight, and they were arguing, and then they'd go to the finance committee. They might do that. I said, till we know what's going on and the insurance is taking care of it. I said, let's not do anything with capital planning. And talking to Haley, if anything comes up, and talking to the emergency management meeting with the select board that was there, if anything comes up between now and the fall, where we have to come up with 6 figures or whatever it is, there'll be a special town meeting warrant on it. So it'll be one of those things. That's how we're going to pay for it. We all don't have to reach in our pockets and take the tens and twenties out. They'll have a special town warrant. So that's the capital planning thing on that. And then, okay, the fire alarm system was the next one. And then we're going to look at the energy audits. So I'm going to turn the thing over to Jeff because he coordinated that and asked all
Well,
the right questions.
well, thanks.
Yeah.
So we met with Citizen Security is the company that presently monitors some of the buildings in town for fire and security. So I contacted them and we met with a representative of their firm, and they can do a wireless, and I didn't even know there was such a thing, fire alarm system in the town hall where we wouldn't need to run conduits. It's a wireless system between each detector and the brain box that goes someplace inside the building, which then, um, if there's an alarm, it's also an addressable system, so the fire department would know when they entered the building, where is the fire or where is the smoke. But the system also doesn't use the telephone to contact the monitoring company. It uses the internet. So they're going to get us a proposal. We warned them about the $10,000 threshold, where if it costs more than $10,000, we have to go solicit 3 proposals, which means if we have to go that route, we would probably need to hire somebody smarter than me to put together some bid documents that would clearly define what it is we're looking for, so everybody's bidding on the same thing. I have not yet received the price back from that company. I also contacted a couple of days ago a company called Encore, and they're located in Holyoke, and they also do fire alarm system installations. But I haven't heard back from them yet. So once I do, I'll see if they're interested in meeting out at the town hall and reviewing what we're looking for. So that's where we are.
And I was impressed with the system too, because Lenny, the fire chief, would have an app on his phone. He'd know exactly where things were. If he walked into the conference room upstairs where the alarm was going off and realized it was a bad battery, he could disconnect that unit and take it offline until it's fixed, and then citizens would come down and replace it because that's what it's part of the package. So they do all the maintenance.
They also said they would tear out the existing system we had for the elevator and replace it with this new system so that the system's going to communicate and function more correctly.
Mm-hmm.
So we're waiting on a proposal.
And one thing we learned, and I'd like to bring up, Jeff, is the highway department's fire alarm system.
Oh yeah,
So I forget how long he says it's been out, but they've been
like
sending
6 or 8 years.
6 or 8 years, which is mind-boggling to me. And they've been sending stuff to Tim, Steve, and now Dave about doing something with this because it's been out so long. And I said, going forward, all this should go to the town administrator, not us, so that we can all look at this and make a decision. And then I was talking to someone else. I said, well, geez, I wonder if your insurance company is real comfortable with that because all those trucks in there and you have no alarm system. It could burn for hours before someone got it. And are we insured? And I was and that's what someone asked me. Are we insured with a non-working? And we know it's a non-working. So I have to talk to Haley again and see what has to be done with that because I'm not comfortable not having a fire alarm system in the building, and I don't think the chief was either.
No, he
So
wasn't.
no. So I know. I mean, he might have probably already talked to Haley because I wanted him to talk to Haley. It's like it has to be addressed. So we might be getting something on that. And I don't know why it wasn't addressed for the last 7, 8 years. Maybe it's the cost.
I
You know,
assume it because out of whose budget would it come?
right.
The highway guy was probably thinking, why do I want to take it out of my budget to fix this thing?
And when I can buy salt for the
Right.
same amount for the next year. So but it still should have been addressed as a thing. And I think that comes back to the whole thing where it's nice we're all talking and the departments are all talking again, and it should be. I think that's a good sign. That's another good sign I mentioned to Haley is that you need a facilities manager, part-time or full-time, for this town because our buildings have become that way. And that might be a good push to get something like that. So, okay. On to everyone have a chance to read these energy proposals that have been forwarded to you. Stephen, I know
Yeah.
you've been
I've,
very
I've,
involved.
I've looked at them, but I don't really understand them that well.
Uh, we've got an expert here that understands them. Uh, but Jeff will help us with that. Some of the things we talked about, Jeff and I talked about, Stephen, is that like the insulation for the MN Spear building
Mhm.
wouldn't interfere with what it's going to become. It would be done in the basement, it'd be done in the attic, and it wouldn't interfere. Is this something we want to go forward and do? Because we can get grant money now. I don't know if we'll get grant money in the future, but these are things I'd like to talk about. Um, the last thing I sent you, I got a phone call yesterday on the way home, is the June grants are due Friday. So if we want to do heat pumps at MN Spear, we have to apply for them by Friday. And I didn't say anything. I said, well, I'm having a meeting. I'll mention it tonight, but I don't think that's a decision. I don't know if we can make a decision right now, but I'd like to put that out to the committee too.
I'm a little confused on something then. I thought you signed the paperwork and submitted it, right?
So that they can get reimbursed for what they've done. Yes, all that was.
But they haven't made, they being the government or
Yeah.
the state, the Commonwealth hasn't made a decision on which of those um, proposals they would be willing even to fund, right?
I think
That's the way I interpret it. So
yeah.
until we hear back from them, they may say, we're not doing any of these.
Yeah. I think we need to find, and will you say that how you worded that again, please? Till the government, or is the government, or is it,
Well,
I'm dating myself. Niagara Mohawk was the electric company I paid for when I was in college many years ago, 50 years ago. But, um, uh,
whoever's funding this program.
and the National Grid, I thought was funding this program.
No, I
No,
thought the
oh,
Commonwealth was funding this program. National Grid was a participant.
okay.
So I don't know that for sure. But I thought they had to make the decision on which ones
Right.
they would be even interested in then, because they pick up a small part of the payment, we pick up a large part of the payment.
Yep.
Or are we kind of waiting on them?
I I don't know the answer to that. This has been very confusing to me because Michael DiChiari has been involved because of the Energy ECAT committee, and he's going for the grant side. So I've been overwhelmed on his emails.
Yeah, and I noticed the same. They're rolling in like every 10 seconds.
Yes. So and then you bring them up, and it's a chain. That's why you know when I said that meeting, there were so many back and forths. No one came. I never saw a definitive answer that it was a Tuesday meeting that you and I missed.
Right.
But it was like there were too many back and forths, and
But that's a separate issue.
that's a
Because
separate issue. Yeah.
program.
But the thing is he's also working with Lindsay on all these grant proposals for ground source and heat pumps and stuff like that.
So do you think Haley would know the answer to my question?
I can ask. Yeah, she might know the answer. Yeah, I can reach out tomorrow morning. It's 4 o'clock. What has the government approved on all these things? Rather than say we want to do these, and In other words, we don't want to apply for these and say, okay, we're not going to give you the 6,000, we'll only give you two, and that wouldn't make sense. Something like that. We want to see what they're going to give us first.
Well,
Um,
they kind of told us roughly what they're going to give us
mhm.
if if we make it to round two, I guess.
Right.
But I'm wondering, the mechanical ones, the heat pump ones came in after you signed the documents
Right.
in the back. So
Right.
did
And
you not sign the heat pump ones?
I don't think so yet. And that was just the new one coming in for the MN Spear building. That was the newest thing. As you can see, this is what they gave us in the last email I got
Right.
day before yesterday.
Because remember that young lady said that even though you signed those forms, it doesn't mean that the town is going to go forward or anybody's going to go forward with them,
Right.
which made me think that we're waiting on their decision, they being the Commonwealth or the utility or whoever it is, the money people.
The money people. I like that.
Kind of like Anna, the money lady.
Because a lot of these, I mean, the insulation just for MN Spear is like a doable thing out of our budget. You know, I wouldn't do the LED, Steve, until you all figured what you're doing with that building and in the heat pump. But um, the insulation's doable out of our budget. To
So
which
I
I
just have a question. So, there's the total project cost, then there's the incentive, and then the net cost. Now, are these net cost things that we're hoping to be able to attach to a grant and to pay for these, or
Can you
are
make
all of
it
these,
bigger?
what'd you say?
Can you make it a
Oh,
little bit bigger so I can read it?
oh,
That's all.
hold on a second. Can you read that?
Yeah. Thank you very much.
Okay.
Because I think the incentive is the only part the utility or whoever these people, the money people are going to give us.
Right. I
The
think
bigger
that's it.
number, the bigger number we pay for.
so where does the grants that you're trying to attach to come into play?
That's like to pay for the heat pump. See the TBD on that TBD is determined what in other words, we're going to apply for a heat pump for the MN Spear building. And let me find that. Hold on a second. Spear building heat pump. I gotta find the grant.
What do you mean the grant?
Well, she said a grant was due March 8th. This is the sign, by the way. This is what she wanted signed for that, but there's a grant to pay for the heat pump on Friday. And this came really fast because I missed the meeting and Michael was involved. And I haven't actually had a chance to go over all of Michael's emails to look at that. So,
Okay, so the grant that you're talking about would pay the outstanding larger amount. The incentive is something that is just an incentive that either National Grid or someone else takes care of. Am I correct?
that's what I believe. I think that's what it is. Hold on a second. Things are on my computer.
And this is a grant that Michael DeCiaris has been involved in?
Well, this is the
Because his grant, I think he's doing a different grant.
right. This has to do with the technical grants. Here, we are. Share. This is the one that Haley might know more about this because you go over this and it has 3, 4 people I don't know. Um, it's the technical. I think it's going too fast personally, but it's the tech. There's a technical grant you can get up to $150,000. So we can apply for $5,000 or $150,000 as a grant to look at everything. And I think that's what she was talking about. And I
No,
don't think, no?
well,
Okay.
I think the $150,000 grant, I believe, that Michael's been working on is for, you can get a grant to hire designers to do a study for the elementary school for the ground source
Right.
heat pump system, and it has nothing to do with those other.
Okay.
I think they're two separate issues, two separate items.
Hmm.
So I believe going back to the Spear Library, whatever those numbers were, the the money people would pay a certain amount of money, and then the town would pay a certain amount of money, and the systems would be installed.
Right.
So I think the town would have to come up with their chunk of the money. I don't think there's a grant for that, but that's what Haley could maybe tell us.
Yeah, I'd have to ask Haley the specific because she was in on the meeting and reading this. And you can all read it too. I'll forward it to everyone. But it's a PON is renewable twice a year, June and December, and that's this Friday. And the submit dates, are by the end of May 2026.
Yeah, I think that's for the Michael D. Karras Elementary School.
Okay, then let me go back here because he's getting.
And that's just for design services.
Right. That's a commitment letter for the heat pumps and something else. I'll call Nate. I'm not comfortable with this. I'll have to call Nate in the morning because all these got intermixed, these emails.
Yeah.
So yeah, the TA grant and yeah, I'll call Haley in the morning and get more clarification. And then if need be, we can do another meeting in a couple of weeks, just if we think that we can get grants to pay for the whole thing and apply, or if we want to just do a couple pick and choose, like the insulating, if that's the money's there now, to insulate the MN Spear building because it wouldn't affect what the building becomes. What do you all think about that? Something like that,
Well, I have a
ins-
question
yeah,
before your question.
yeah.
So, I mean that the insulation is in the scheme of things is a small dollar amount, but just about everything else, or especially like heat pumps for the MN Spear, I mean that's a large chunk of money. So, in my mind, wouldn't we want to get two other, or wouldn't we be required to get two other bids? Um,
Hmm.
I mean, how do we know this company is providing the best price for the work?
I don't
And
think I don't think we have to get other prices because it's this. I'm going to say National Grid. I think is like running this program, and these are contractors that National Grid hires. So I think that's how you get around the needing three prices. But we also have no clue on the quality of the company. I guess we would go
right,
back to National Grid and say, how come you hired Mo, Larry, and Curly?
right, and then I would also question um, how did they come up with the design that they came up with, or I mean, I think in their proposal, when I looked at it, they're eliminating the existing mini split. Um, you know, that's there, which is relatively new. I I mean, why can't that be part of the project? I mean, I don't know, the answer to that. But so I just feel that if we looked at these closely, we might have a lot of questions that we'd want to have answers to before, pursuing some of these things.
Yeah. I think the reason
When we
they wouldn't want to use the existing system there is because they're trying to reduce their energy load. So they want the newest, most efficient heat pump. So I think that's their logic. I'm not saying it's right. I'm just saying I think that's the way they're approaching life.
Yeah, can I
Yeah,
can I get some questions in here?
Yep.
So I'm looking at the column that says estimated net cost for, let's say, the town hall, the LEDs 15,000, the HP, the heat pumps 36,000. Then I look to the far right, the estimated savings. We got 4,000 for the LED and $1,000 for the heat pump. And I'm thinking, yeah, the cost savings for the LED, yeah, it's going to have a 4 year or less payback, but the heat pump is going to take 36 years to pay it back. So am I reading this right?
That's how I read it, Phil. I'd have to
So
ask.
to me, it doesn't make sense to do the heat pump for a 36-year payback, but the LED seems like a no-brainer.
Right.
And you look at all these other projects on the same criteria, there's only a couple on this list that I would say really makes sense from a cost benefit standpoint. And there's a couple of them that we just don't make sense at all.
Mhm.
Like the two heat pumps don't make sense at all. A 20-year payback on the Spear Library and a 36-year payback on the town hall. I mean, why that, doesn't make sense to have a payback that long. And in my previous life as a controller and VP in finance at Mount Snow and a couple other places, we'd be looking for a 3-year payback, 5-year at the most for a capital investment of this type. And if it was over that, we'd say, you know what, it's not worth it, and
Yeah.
maybe technology is going to improve over in a couple of years and it will be worth it. But right now it's the cost isn't worth the benefit.
Good point.
And I'd ask that question because I find it really odd as the minus 2950, 29, I mean, 2569 and the negative electrical thing.
Yeah,
Well,
That
I
would,
didn't understand that either, why that's a negative
I don't
number.
understand the positive above if that's a plus 137 and a plus
Yeah.
17 versus the
Yeah.
negative. So maybe just clarifying that would help.
Mhm.
I'm not sure. I guess I don't know where my line in the sand would be of when you were saying where you were looking for like a 3 or a 5-year payback in your prior job. But I'd say like at the very least, we don't want the payback period to be longer than the lifespan of the unit. Like I wouldn't expect that heat pump to last 26 years, or whatever.
Oh, absolutely, absolutely. Yeah, I mean, every paybacks are different. Every business or any entity would take a different approach to it. But
Mhm.
that was just my experience in the corporate world. Was 3 to 5
Yeah.
years was typical, and a
Mhm.
lot of it has to do with the fact that these things don't last that long, and you got to buy a new one 10 years down the road, 5 years down the road, whatever.
Yeah. I would also throw out that I'm hesitant to do anything too drastic at the Spear Library until the town knows what's going to happen to the building, because I'm worried that we would do
Yeah.
something that would need to be removed, reinstalled, moved, changed, eliminated, and it might just be like a total waste of money.
I agree. I think I have a possible answer for the negative electrical
Mhm.
savings. Because you see, there's the same thing at MN Spear. Currently the town hall is using an oil-fired system, and the Spear is primarily using the propane floor furnace. So when you switch to the heat pumps, you're going to start using a lot more electricity
Yep.
than is currently being used. So that's,
Oh,
I think,
Oh, then they have the
negative.
column with the oil savings on the second to
Yeah,
the.
Right. Right.
yeah.
Oh, okay, that makes sense.
So then we really just want to be focused on the estimated cost savings at the far right, because
Right.
it's the net.
Yeah,
Okay.
Yeah,
that's
and
all.
I totally agree with Anna. I don't, being on the reuse committee, um, in the current fiscal state that we're in, there's a good chance that while we're not going to make a decision, we'll be making recommendations, but the recommendation is probably going to just leave it as is right now. It can be used as a meeting space, um, and that will not be very frequent. So. I don't think there's real value in putting any money into the building.
Hmm. And there's no water in that building, so till they figure that out, it's not like we need to insulate it more to
Right,
protect pipes and stuff like that.
right.
And I did go into the MN Spear building earlier this week
Hmm.
and just wanted to see how the closet was doing, and the heat was turned all the way down but not off. So that closet doesn't even need it. The walk-in closet with a off the entranceway. I was wondering why it was on. So, and I think with the heat can go off also. I don't know. The heat was on at 60, and I didn't want to turn it off because I don't know who's using the building. But I don't think the town needs to spend any more money on gas out there.
Well, I think you ought to keep the building heated. I don't think you need to heat
Okay,
it 60 degrees.
right.
Yeah, I think
I
I'd turn it down to 50.
That's where I
okay.
would do that. Yeah, agreed.
I think that I tried to, but it's a programmable thing. So I don't know if I said turn it down to 50 and hold, but I don't know if it did because I don't have to look up the directions on that thing. But I agree with that. Just I wanted to keep it that. Um, so the system doesn't go bad. Okay. And speaking of monies, Brendan and I looked. We have $70,000 in our slush fund, and 9,000 has been spent. And I'm going to have Gail, the accountant, give me a breakdown on that because the Toric, Stephen, wasn't $9,000 yet. I just want to make
Oh,
sure that I want to make sure a lot of this school stuff is. I have to figure that out. Who's paying for the school stuff? Um,
I'd have to look.
yeah.
You could ask Brendan because he's
Yep.
gotten all the receipts. And I did go and check again at the fire department and the highway department, and everything has been completed.
Oh, good. Okay. So I'll get some more answers from Haley on all these grant things. I agree with Phil that I know Jeff likes fixing things for 30 years, but we shouldn't have to pay for it for 30 years before we break even. Um,
I'm
yeah.
not going to be
Well, and as
almost.
Anna said, we'd have to replace the heat pump
And-
before we pay it's paid back.
I
yeah.
don't know. I mean, there's other ways to look at it too. If we're just reducing like the environmental footprint, if there's like other reasons beyond financial, it just seems like from the town perspective, financial should matter a lot.
Well, when they see how much a new tank is going to cost the elementary school, I'm sure they're going to be more focused on costs.
Fair, yeah, totally.
I don't know if anyone's been to any finance committee meetings. I've been listening because ever since this tank problem, and they're squeezing everything, and our taxes are going up. You'll see it at town hall, like average on $500 to $800, whatever they said. Uh, but they're talking about all these things that are happening in budget year 27. And they use the word override, which scared me. So uh, the 2.5% override. They try not to do that. So
I think Amherst just did that.
yeah,
Yep.
and so they tried not to do that this year. But it's interesting because the libraries kicked in. There's some expenses that we haven't had for a while, and now that The bottom line is the money is for the library was a big factor, the 20-year bond and stuff like that. And our treasurer, Brendan's brother, has great ideas about that because you have to balance things and you might want to pay off and all this other stuff to save lots of money. So it was interesting to hear all those things. But the thing that stuck in my head here was that override. We don't want overrides. Try to balance the budget. Okay, does anyone have any unanticipated business? I think we covered a lot tonight. I really appreciate it. I'll try to get you all some answers in the next few days. And having said that, do we have a motion?
I move we close the meeting.
Second?
I'll second.
Roll call vote, please.
Cook eye.
Dalmas, aye.
Quackenbush, aye.
Parker, aye.
Again, aye. Thank you all very much.
Thanks.
Thank you, Frank.
Okay, thank you.
Bye.
Bye.